In this video, I want to go over some of the impacts that artificial intelligence can have on your computer science education, as well as discussing why in my courses I don't allow AI to be used to complete homework. Now, before we start, I'm going to acknowledge that AI has a role in software engineering. So for example, software engineers in industry will use AI to autocomplete when they're writing code. They'll also use it to suggest optimizations and refactorings. They may use it for debugging. And most often, they're using it to streamline repetitive tasks. A lot of languages require a lot of boilerplate code before you can actually do anything. And AI is a nice, cheap replacement for a junior level software engineer to do those things. But the thing to keep in mind as you're learning computer science is that these professionals, they use AI as an aid. But the reason they're able to do that is because they've already mastered the fundamentals of coding. In fact, one of the things that I'll reiterate here is that if all you're learning to do is just plug something into AI and then take the result without any thought on your part, then you're not really going to have a role in industry because your employer can just use AI to do the same things you would have used AI to do. So that's why in this course, I don't allow AI to be used for projects because I want you to build those foundational skills first. So why prohibit AI? The first reason is that coding builds your problem-solving skills. As you learn to write code from scratch, that helps you develop the logic and critical thinking capabilities that you need to be a software engineer. So for example, I can create a linked list by just getting on my favorite AI tool and say, write code for a linked list in C#, and it would do it. And most AIs now would be able to do a reasonably good job. However, I haven't developed the skills to actually be able to do that. And so therefore, I haven't gained anything by that exercise. Second, you need to practice using the data structures and algorithms that we'll cover in these courses. If you're going to actually understand the code idioms for the language you're using, data structures, algorithms, time complexity, other computer science topics, you have to do hands-on work. And if you're not doing those things hands-on, you're not going to learn anything. Using AI is really no different than just taking the solutions and copying those. So when you use these tools, you're actually stunting your own growth. And the third reason I prohibit AI is that employers don't want people who can just blindly plug things into AI and then blindly accept those results. They want you to be able to solve problems independently. And this starts right off with the coding interviews. And the reality is most stuff that happens in industry, outside of the very simple boilerplate type code, those problems, to solve them, requires debugging and modifying code using a deep understanding of that code base and of the problem there. And AI at this point is not able to do that independently of a software engineer. In summary, AI is like copying answers in math. You may pass the assignment, but you don't understand the material. If you don't understand the material, what are you going to do when you need to do something that requires that understanding? So if you master the fundamentals now, you'll be able to use tools like AI more effectively in the future. An analogy I like to use would be lifting weights. Thinking that you can learn to code by using AI to generate your homework answers is like thinking that you will get stronger by having a robot lift weights for you. Now you may say, why should I lift the weight? The robot can do it perfectly for me. And that's true. However, if the goal is to have the weight lifted, sure, have the robot do it. But if the goal is to make you stronger, then you should lift it yourself so that you get stronger. So how to succeed without AI? The first thing is embrace the struggle. Start projects early, work through things step by step, practice breaking things into smaller parts. For example, writing pseudocode, thinking through the problem before you actually start writing code. These are good practices that are going to help you build the skills that you would need to be successful in your career. In fact, that's one of the reasons computer science courses are required for other fields that aren't software engineering. It's because this practice of breaking problems into smaller parts and then solving those smaller parts and then assembling that into a whole is a valid skill across many disciplines. The course gives you plenty of resources. Look at notes, example code, and videos. Go to office hours to get for help. Collaborate with your peers to discuss ideas, not necessarily solutions though. But again, give yourself time to absorb the material and take the time to work on it. You should practice active learning. Write code by hand or on paper. That helps you absorb those concepts more fully. And it also gives you practice for coding interviews. Test your code piece by piece. Don't just take a big chunk. As you're writing code, test it, run it, make sure it works. And debug like a detective. Use print statements, use the debugger, trace your errors. Don't just say, oh, I got an error, and ask the AI. Instead, try to find out what that problem is yourself, because as you debug problems, that's going to help you understand how to code better. In fact, most of the time when you first start a new position as a software engineer, they're going to have you work on bug fixes because that debugging process is the best way to learn a code base. So to reiterate it for my classes, any use of AI for project creation or enhancement violates the course rules and undermines your learning. And for my courses, you should see the syllabus. The penalty is very severe. Now, some objections that you may have to this is that, well, first off, AI save time and I'm too busy to code everything from scratch. Well, that may be true, but the time you spend building your coding skills develops those problem-solving skills that are going to make you more productive and more valuable as a programmer in the future. Also, take the time to learn the material before you start working on projects. I've asked students in the past, how much time did you spend reviewing the material before you started working on the project? And it's an inversely proportional relationship. The students who took the time to read through the material first spent significantly less time on average on the project, 20 to 30% of the total time that the students who just decided to plow forward with the project. Start early, and again, this policy is in place so that you get the skills that the employers value. I already know that AI can do a lot of what I'm asking you to do in this course. So I really don't want to see what AI can do. I know what AI can do. What I'm interested in is what you can do in helping you develop your skills. The second objection is professionals use AI, so why can't we? Well, that's true, but the reality is professionals are using AI to do the things that junior engineers used to do. And so they've already mastered coding fundamentals, so they're able to take the AI's output and use it more effectively. Whereas you as a student, if you're using it as a crutch as you're learning, then you're not going to learn it as well to be able to use it as an effective tool later. So another one is, I'm struggling with coding and AI helps me get through assignments. Well, struggling is part of learning. So the fact that you're struggling is not a bad thing at all. You should embrace the struggle. If you don't want to struggle at all, you could just use AI to do all your assignments. You'd probably make a good grade and you'll have a worthless degree when you're done because you won't actually have any skills other than I'm going to use AI to do the work. Working through the challenges builds resilience and it builds skills that you need in your career. So again, don't use AI, use the course materials, work with the instructor, practice active learning. The reason we have the no AI policy is to ensure that you understand the work on your own. Yes, outside of this course, you can use AI to get things done, but your goal in this course isn't to get things done. So for example, your goal isn't to create a matrix class that you can use to do various matrix operations. The goal is for you to work through how to design, how to code that project so that you'll learn skills that you can apply later on. And the fourth objection is that without AI, I'm afraid my projects won't be good enough for a high grade. I realize as a student, grades seem really important, but the reality is 5 years from now, no one will care at all what your grade was in the course you're taking right now. And what you really don't want to be is some student who, oh, I have an A. Employer looks, oh, this is an A student. Oh, but they don't know anything. And that happens more often than you may think. Your goal should be to learn the material. I have multiple C students who I've written really strong reviews for because they learned a lot. They just were really bad at getting stuff turned in on time, or they were bored with the course material and were doing more advanced things. Those students have gone on to be very successful. I've also had A students who weren't necessarily doing all their own work, and none of them are in any computer science related field right now. And so you have to decide, what's my goal here? Is your goal to just get a good grade and a degree that's worthless, that doesn't tell anything about your capabilities? Or do you want to learn these things so that then you can use that to actually get a job, to have a successful career doing computer science and software engineering? So in conclusion, AI is useful in industry. It's useful for writing code, but this class isn't about getting this code written. It's about understanding deeper concepts that you'll be able to apply to other things later on. And so using AI as a crutch only prevents you from getting that done. The effort you put into learning without AI is going to make you a stronger programmer with AI in the future. So tackle your assignments without AI, use the course resources, seek help when you're stuck, and develop your own problem-solving skills. Take this time in this course to build your own mental strength to be able to write code, to solve problems on your own so that you're a valuable commodity to an employer in the future. And that's what's going to give you a successful career.